Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Jay Myrex, and today I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind for some years now. It's a debate or kind of like an idea that me and a lot of my friends that are also music producers talk about frequently. This video is kind of going to be orientated more towards the old heads or the young old heads like myself that kind of have a similar music production background, but I think this will apply to everybody at some point or at some stage of their music production. So I did a video last week of me kind of working in the studio using some old hardware equipment and whatnot. And one of the things that came up in some of the comments was how, I'm still using old hardware equipment and, people were thinking about selling their equipment because of all the software that they have now. And I can honestly say that one of the biggest mistakes that I made as I was transitioning towards using more software was selling my hardware equipment because I thought that I had found an end-all be-all. And I don't want to rant too long about this. I just really want to give my perspective and just, some of my experience with that whole topic. So, one of the issues that came up was, I got Logic around, say, 2005. I really started like fully embracing it by about 2006, 2007-ish. So by about 2007, I decided, okay, I can get rid of my hardware and just use all Logic now. Dumb mistake, real dumb move. Music and sound can be very cyclical, first of all. So, getting rid of something that was already working, that you already had success with, just because you found something else new, doesn't really make logical sense, because at some point, you may want to refer back to some of the older sounds that were successfully working in your productions. And that's not something that I had perspective of at the time. I thought I just need to keep up with the times. I need to move forward. And, computers, where it's at now, and the hardware is the thing of the past. And, I don't need all the hardware now. Well, as I started being around more big-time producers. And when I say big-time producer, I'm not really speaking so much from the hip-hop side of things, but just really classic producers that have been in the game for, decades. I was able to really get a different perspective. And a lot of these guys told me the same thing. They keep the old sounds around, the old keyboards, the old hardware, because it's a point of reference for them. They can go back and refer to the old sounds if they need to. They know where the sounds are. They're familiar with the equipment. They know what sounds work in there, what sounds don't, and it's a sound library for them. So the idea of getting rid of the old equipment just because it's old doesn't make sense, because it's still functional, it's still useful, it can still make great sounds, and you can potentially make great music with it. So, we have to keep in mind that just because we have been given something new with, this software and VSTs and all that, that doesn't make the hardware or the old school equipment obsolete. It just means that you have more options. And I'm not saying or condoning, becoming like a gear hoarder and trying to just have a whole bunch of gear just for the sake of having gear. I mean, there's really no accolades or stripes for having, all software, nor is there an accolade or stripe for having a whole bunch of different hardware that doesn't become useful in your music. Because, at the end of the day, people don't really care what you make your music with. It's just about, the quality of the overall music and how effective it is at the end of the day. But a lot of us get caught up in, trying to keep up with the Joneses, trying to say, oh, I'm all in the box now, or I'm all hardware now. Which it really doesn't matter. If that works for you, that's fine. Either way it goes, whatever makes you feel most comfortable and productive is what you should roll with. But what I'm saying is the idea of selling your perfectly well-functioning hardware equipment to go all software can be a mistake. There's going to be some point where you want to reference it. There might be some point where you just want to go back to that workflow or, sounds for a moment just to get inspired, because you never know where your inspiration is going to come from in the studio anyhow. So I like to make sure that I'm, well-rounded in terms of what I can use in the studio, because, at some point I might want to just use, for example, I might want to use Reason, and just being able to open up Reason and start working gives me some different inspiration than I may be able to get from using, say, a machine or using Ableton Live or something else. So it's important for us to keep our sounds and keep our sound libraries intact. I do understand and respect when, there are circumstances that require you to sell things. Things happen, life happens. So, you may have a medical expense, or you may have some family emergency, or, a new addition to a family, or whatever. Whatever the case may be that requires you to sell equipment, that's your business. And, I don't really have an issue with that. But I do really have an issue with the idea of someone saying that you're going to replace your hardware with software, because they are not the same thing. They don't sound the same. They don't do the same thing. They don't work the same way. They interact with you a different way. So there's never really a full replacement when you go from hardware to software. You're always going to lose something going into software. And I mean vice versa. You're always going to lose some type of functionality or some type of workflow when you decide that you're going to go, say, strictly hardware. So I think at this point in time, it's best to have a hybrid system where you have a little bit of hardware, you have a little bit of software, and they all work together and allow you to produce the music that you have in your mind. So all of you guys out there thinking that, hey, I'm gonna sell all my hardware now because of this software, that software, pump your brakes, check yourself, think twice about it. You might want to try to use that stuff later on. So I would recommend you hold on to it if you can. Like I said, I made that mistake before. I regretted it. Went back and got stuff. I had sold my Motif ES. There was a point where I didn't have a Motif ES. Really regretted it because, now the sounds, I think the sounds are definitely classic sounds at this point. They don't work for everything, but I can still get inspired. I can still make great music with it. So, the fact that I sold it really made me struggle for a while when I wanted to get back into some of those sounds. So just from my experience, I would recommend definitely don't sell your old equipment just because you have software. So hopefully this video helps. I know I kind of ranted a little bit, and I'm passionate about this. I've been there, done that. I just want to help other people out. But if this video helps you, go ahead and like it, comment on it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. And also, now in our Altruwest.com store, you can get these new crew neck t-shirts, and we also got crew neck sweatshirts available. Go ahead and pick you up one of those and represent. All right, until next time, peace and God bless.